What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. Got a great video for you guys today. I'm going to talk to you guys about why I actually quit driving for Uber. Before we jump in this video, we wanted to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, Play Octopus. Play Octopus is an amazing company, probably the best company that partners with gig economy drivers. They get you a tablet that customers can play games on, and they can essentially win cash prizes, and you get paid more. Our listeners can get a free tablet just by using the link in the description below. But I really think all of you that are putting even 15 hours a week in should be getting this. Not only do you make more money if they're playing the app, playing the games on the tablet, but on top of this, it's a great conversation starter. You're going to have better ratings overall, and you're going to get better tips just for providing that extra level of entertainment. It's really, really amazing for those passengers that just don't want to talk. So check it out, guys. Like I said, I left a link in the description below so you can get that free tablet. I think you guys will love it. Let's dive in. So I quit full-time driving a couple years ago, actually. The main reason was when I started it, I had bought a car with about 16,000 miles on it. It was a Nissan Altima. I'd gotten it at CarMax, and I drove the life out of that car. I was doing both apps easily 40 plus hours a week, very often 50 to 60. I was a hustle hog. And when I'd first started, Lyft was doing the power drive bonus, which was incredible. And Uber was just always popping. And I honestly could just make so much money. It was very easy for me to do $2,000 plus in a week. Now, again, in heavy hours, but for me, that was incredible. And I think for most people, that's really good money, even factoring in the wear and tear, the gas costs, which were a lot cheaper back then. But the main thing is I put such heavy miles on that car that after about a year and a half, I had taken it from 16,000 miles to I think it was like 145, might have even been higher than that, I can't really remember. But I put a lot of mileage on that car. So what ended up happening was I needed probably about $3 or $4 grand in repairs. There was just a lot of stuff because I had driven the life out of it. And as you know, all city driving is much worse for vehicles than highway miles. So when you're doing all that braking and constant stop and go, it adds up and it beats up the vehicle. So I needed a lot of repairs. And on top of that, there was a transmission light going off too, which is very common for Altimas, unfortunately. And so the mechanic I took it to, he was like, look, if you were my son, I'd tell you to get a new car. He's like, you're going to put 4 or 5 grand of repairs into this or whatever it was. It was a lot. And then the transmission might go out. He's like, you might as well just put that money into a new car. Now the issue was, and what he didn't know, is that I still owed CarMax probably 7 or 8 grand on the vehicle. So the problem I ran into super quick, and I think this happens to a lot of new drivers, is if you don't have that loan paid off, well, now you can't just go buy a used vehicle, which is what I think every driver should do. You shouldn't buy new vehicles to do this. You should buy used vehicles, and I would recycle them at least every 3 years. I mean, every year and a half to 2 years if you can, but I know that's not realistic for most. There is no reason to buy a new vehicle and use it for rideshare. You should always buy a used vehicle because you will beat the thing up. If you're going to drive it 5 to 10 hours a week, probably not a big deal. If you're going to put 20 plus hours a week on it, definitely buy used. So I had to buy a new vehicle. I downgraded and got a Nissan Sentra, which I was honestly much too big for that vehicle, but I was just having to do what I had to do. I was kind of a slave to Uber, which sucked. I really relied on the income of it so heavily that I had to do everything I could to figure out how to get driving for them again. And so I get this Nissan Sentra, and then I'm absorbing that 7 or 8 grand into the loan. So I think my total loan was somewhere around $25,000, which is so absurd for that tiny little car. My payments were, something like $375 a month. I mean, it was just taking so much of me to actually drive it, to actually drive for Uber and Lyft. And so after, I think I tried full-time driving again for like another, 5 or 6 months, and I was just like, man, this is killing me. And this was before the gas prices had gotten so high. And before Uber was cutting rates left and right, I mean, they were already dropping, but not as bad as they are now. It hadn't gotten to that bad point yet, because this was pre-2020. And so finally I was just like, okay, I gotta make a gut call. Like, I can't do this anymore. So I stopped it. I dropped it to just weekend driving, which was honestly a really smart move, because I could still pull in a lot of times $500 to $700 a week just by hustling my tail off Friday through Sunday. So what I would recommend to anyone is if you can get yourself to do it, doing 12 hours on Friday, 12 hours on Saturday, and then like 5 to 7 on Sunday, you'll make great money. And then Monday through Friday is whatever else you need. I mean, if you're working a full-time job, busting your butt all weekend on Uber and Lyft probably sucks. But if you have a little part-time gig, a business, you know, whatever it is, then that's a great way to do your Uber and Lyft driving, is just killing it on the weekends. But after a while, I noticed that I was still just adding so many miles to my vehicles. And I hit a point then where I was also starting to get a business off the ground. It was starting to do well. I ironically signed a lot of my first clients for my business from Uber and Lyft, passengers that I gave rides to. And I finally hit a point where, to me, I just felt like it wasn't worth it anymore. From time to time, I'll occasionally still get on the apps if I'm just like really bored, or if there's just something really random I want to make $100 for, and I just, you know, don't feel like doing anything else. But it is very fleeting at this point. So ultimately, that was why I quit. I think, especially in today's economy, for most people, gas prices are horrendous. I mean, we're in a very inflated economical time. The other thing is, there's so much more of an abundance of virtual jobs available for almost anyone that pay $20 an hour. It's kind of, you've got to really consider, you know, if you can work at home all day and not be destroying your vehicle, paying crazy gas prices, that's something you've got to consider. Work is work. At the end of the day, it's not glamorous, and I think a lot of us cling to the heydays of Uber and Lyft, of when you could make $2,000 a week. And do it the way you wanted and when you wanted, and take a week off when you wanted, and ultimately it's not a bad job at all. Driving people around is not a bad job. But the reality is, it'll never be that again. I almost hate saying that, but I think for a lot of you on this channel, I would really consider looking into some other things, because Uber and Lyft will only get worse. They're pushing for all electric, and they're gonna boot you if you don't have an electric vehicle, they're saying, I mean, by 2030, but they might speed up that timeline. And I think the writing's on the wall for a lot of us that we need to be looking for new gigs. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. If you are still busting it out there in Uber and Lyft, definitely check out Play Octopus. Get that free tablet by using our link in the description below. At the very least, you're going to make some more money, get better tips, and have a great conversation starter for your rides. So thank you guys. Stay safe out there more than anything, and stay tuned for more updates.